Hey everyone, welcome to our season 2, episode 1, Facebook Live for Unstoppable Entrepreneur Live. Super excited to have you guys joining me. Now, what I wanted to help you guys understand was really this difference between online and offline marketing and the really big differences. Now, I came from a 12-year corporate career where it was all about marketing ourselves as being different compared to every other bank on the map, really. And I think one of the big things that people tend to have trouble with, can you guys just let me know that you can hear me when you're coming on? Happy Monday. One of the really big things that I find is a challenge for a lot of people is that the way that you tend to build your offline reputation is very different to how it gets done online. Now, you guys can let me know if this sounds familiar. I mean, the way that I really grew the business that I was working within, so I treated my banking role like my own business. The way that I grew that was by doing a lot of in-person kind of networking. I was always talking to other people, building relationships with people in similar industries around the town. I was running different seminars and different information nights and kind of different workshops, and then using those as a platform to get out to the other people that I really wanted to be able to, who I wanted to be able to work with and become clients of mine. Now, that's a really great way to grow your reputation. It's a really great way to grow your business and your notoriety and establish your knowledge in a particular area. But the downside to that is making it transferable into this online world. I mean, who here doesn't want to get more clients? I mean, let's face it, we all want to get more clients. Let's face it, we all want to be able to have most of us want to be able to have a bigger reach. We want to be able to talk to more people. We really want to be able to share our expertise and our knowledge with more and more people and not be reliant on the ability to be able to build this in a local kind of environment, right? Even if you are getting local clients, I'm imagining that you're probably similar to me in the sense that you don't always want to have to rely on pounding the pavement in order to be able to get clients and to be able to have conversations. Would you agree? Let me know. The other part of all of that is that it's a different kind of conversation that we tend to have when we're looking at marketing online. Now, when you're offline, you're asking questions. Yeah, you're asking questions of these people, you're finding out what their problems are, and you're looking for different ways that you can help to solve their problems. Yeah. So if you go to a networking event and you get introduced to Sally, and Sally's like, oh wow, what is it that you do? And you start talking to people, and she might even say, so you know, what's your biggest challenge that you're having right now? Or, you know, how do you go about doing that? What is it that you're looking to learn? And you have those one-on-one conversations with people that are really powerful, but then also it makes it very easy for you to be able to solve their problems, right? Now, when you're doing that online, it becomes a bit of a different ball game because you're not sitting there literally saying, okay, Sally, so please tell me, you know, at the bottom of this blog or wherever, can you please just tell me a little bit about what your biggest problems are or what you're having a challenge with? It's like, you can't go straight in with that. You've got to have some rapport there, right? So the difference with online is trying to make the conversation that you're having relevant to as many people as you possibly can, but still in a way that really answers their problems, is able to build rapport with them and develop a conversation. So one of the ways that I would like to really help you to do that is give you a little bit of a tip around this. Now, you are probably already having these conversations offline. And what I want you to be thinking about with your online marketing is how do you start to bridge that gap between somebody not knowing you and starting out a conversation. So we're looking at rapport building. One of the big ways that you can build rapport is by telling stories in a way that is relevant to what you think your people are going through. So if you're sitting there, for example, like if you're sitting there going like, all right, I've got to go and do some posts today, or I've got to go and do a Facebook Live, or I've got to go and do a blog, and you're sitting at your computer and you're kind of like, oh, fuck, you know, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? What's the topic going to be? This kind of thing. I want you to be thinking not about you, all right? Because the stuff is just going to flow. Stop thinking about you and start thinking about them. Now, the easiest way to shift that thinking is if you imagine all of the clients, oh yeah, you can hear me, thank you. If you can imagine all of the people that you've ever worked with, it's kind of like standing, I'm gonna imagine there's like a big semicircle of hundreds of people like in front of you. Maybe you've worked with hundreds of clients, maybe you've worked with a dozen clients, it doesn't really matter. Imagine that all the clients that you've ever worked with are standing in front of you in a big arc, in a big semicircle. And there is something in that person that you remember, and you remember one of their problems. And then you go to the next person and you remember something else. And then you start to see this kind of pattern flowing through this semicircle, right? There's common things between all of these people. Now, I only want you to be thinking about who the best clients were. Now, sometimes the best, and what you determine is the best, is perhaps something different to what the next person determines is the best. But let's imagine that you are only taking the information from the best clients that you have ever worked with. Now, that might be the most fun people, it might be the people that got the best results, it might be the people that then became friends of yours, it might be the people who paid you the most amount of money, like whatever best means to you. Take the information out of that, and I want you to collate it. And then what I want you to do is kind of like Frankenstein a person, a fictitious person, out of all of these different elements. So you could be like a jigsaw puzzle person, right? So you take that one from Sally, you take that one from Sue, you take that bit from Roger, you take that bit from Sarah, you take that bit from Craig, and you've got this kind of like hybrid Frankenstein-y jigsaw person. The next thing that I want you to be thinking about is, okay, what is the biggest problem that this collective person has? What's the biggest number one problem? So if the biggest number one problem is lead generation, you're going to talk about that. If the biggest problem is that person's mindset, then what can you talk about to help them with that? And I want you to tell a bit of a story around where you were, what you did, why this is so freaking important, why this is the biggest issue that the majority of people that you speak to have. You'll provide a couple of what they need to do solutions, right? And then you'll talk about where you are now as a result of that. Because let's think about it. When you're offline and in person with someone, the way that you have conversations with them is not all one-sided, right? And you're probably saying, oh yeah, that sounds a little bit like when I did blah, blah, blah. Or that sounds like when I was working with Roger, this is what we did with him, no. You bring those naturally in as part of your conversations. So we want to do that when you're online as well, so that people can be like, oh wow, like this person really knows what they're saying. This person, like they've got experience, they've helped other people with this stuff before, and I can see now where they are and how the transformation has gone, and that's what I want. And that's really what you're wanting to create when you're marketing yourself online. And that way, remember that big semicircle arc of people that I got you to imagine before? It's like you're talking to every single one of those people, pretending that they haven't become your client yet. You're speaking to every one of those people in that single story that you're having, in that single solution that you're talking with them about. So that's how we can really look at ways that we can transfer what you're doing offline and getting that online. The next big thing that most people, like, when I'm talking to them, they're like, yeah, okay, but Nicola, like, what's the actual application of this? Like, how the fuck do we actually do that? So what I want you to be thinking about is the way that you are going to be having these types of conversations, these multi-channel, multi-person conversations that are relevant, okay? So the first thing that you want to be thinking about is, all right, well, what platforms am I going to be doing this on? So Facebook is a definite. There are 1.86 billion people on Facebook right now. So don't tell me, don't even think about using that bullshit thing that your people are not on Facebook, because they are. Regardless of what it is that you do, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a stenographer, whether you're a writer, whether you're a coach, I don't really care what it is that you do. Your people are on Facebook, and you must be having a conversation on there with them in a leveraged fashion, okay? So you've got to be on there. The next thing, you want to be having a presence on LinkedIn. All right, now people on LinkedIn are only spending on average 10 minutes per day. They kind of get in and they get out, but they will go and have a look at you. All right, they'll go and do a little bit of research on you. The trick here is that you can use the same content that you put on Facebook, you can use it over on LinkedIn, okay? The next thing is that you want to have a presence on Instagram. Now, remembering that Instagram is very visual, so think picture quotes, think photos that show a little bit about you, because again, think about it. If you're at a networking event and they're like, oh, so what is it that you do? And you're like, oh, you know, I do this stuff, I do some training, and, you know, I'm really lucky I get to work from home. Like, okay, so what makes you want to work from home? Oh, well, I have 3 children, and, you know, it gives me the flexibility, and yada, yada, yada. So they're going to ask you, most people say, oh, so are you married? Like, where do you live? What is it that you do? What's your experience? You know, what do you do for fun? People are going to ask those questions of you. So Instagram is a really great platform to show a visual representation of what your life is like outside of this kind of online blogging type stuff, right? So you want to have a presence over there. The other thing that you must do is you must have a website and you must be blogging. Now, I couldn't really care less whether I prefer you be video. I do care, actually. Scratch that. That's not true. I would prefer for you to be video blogging. In an ideal perfect world, I want you doing videos, because there's nothing quite like seeing someone delivering their message, using their voice, seeing how I talk with my hands, obviously, you know, so seeing how that plays out and how that happens. So, like, ideally you want to be video blogging. However, some of you are much more talented, gifted writers, and you may find that that's a more uncomfortable space for you to be in. Go ahead and write. If you want to do a mixture of the two, then ace, go ahead and do that. But you can even put up audios if you want, like treat it a bit like a podcast. Now, again, the reason that that's really important is that people are going to research you. All right. It's like if you're doing marketing offline and you're going to multiple different events, they will see you at multiple different events, right? They'll see you at the networking group. They see you at BNI. They might see you at Toastmasters. They might see you at an expo. They might see you down the supermarket, whatever, doing the kid run. So they get to experience you usually in kind of different arenas. So people, when they're looking at you online, they will go and research you, okay? So this is why you want to have content on these other platforms that we've been talking about, but also up on your blog. And you don't have to have oodles and oodles of stuff on there. You just want to start and get at least 10 things up there so that people can get a bit of a feel for you, for how you write or how you speak or how you sound and how you look and that type of thing. Now, the design of your website is for the most part irrelevant, okay? The design of your website for the most part is irrelevant, unless you're a web developer, and then you probably want to have a nice one. So I did more than $4 million in sales with a higgledy-piggledy website that, number one, I started out, I built it myself. The second part, I had a professional guy kind of like redesign a banner and do a little bit of different layout and some different text and stuff like that. It was literally kind of like Frankenstein with all different bits and pieces. I have just unveiled in the middle, I think it was Thursday last week, my brand new shiny sparkly website. The first professionally designed website I've ever had done has finally gone live, and I'm so freaking excited because I've been doing this since 2010, right? So we're now 2017. It's been 7 years since I've had a pretty website go live. So I'm so freaking excited, but you don't have to have a schmancy fancy website in order to make money and in order to build rapport and in order to help people with what it is that you do, okay? Incidentally, another question that I get asked is, but do I have to go and have some professional photos taken? No. Up until the middle of 2015, so more than 2 years ago, I was using screenshots from these kinds of videos to put up as the blogs or to use as images and stuff like that. I only just had professional photos taken for the first time, like proper professional ones, for the first time in the middle of 2015. And by that point, I think we'd done more than $3 million in sales. So you don't need fancy websites. You don't need fancy photos. You do want to be putting really great content though out there that solves the problems of your big ass semicircle of people, that connects and creates rapport, because you don't want to be reliant on doing all of this stuff in person for forever and a day, or relying on word of mouth referrals. Now, what I would really, what I'd love to do for you guys now is if you've got any questions, please go ahead and type them in. Let's have a quick look at my notes and see if there's anything else that I wanted to talk to you about. Okay, so the only other point, while you're typing your questions in there, if you have any, if you've got questions after this has gone live, so if you're listening to the recording, you can still go ahead and type them underneath, and that's totally cool. I'll still answer them for you. The really big thing that you want to leave people thinking when you're doing all of this, so when you're putting your blogs out there and when you're doing your videos or your postings and stuff like that, you want people to get a really good feeling for what your expertise is and what it is that you do well, and provide for them a call to action of some description. Now, that might be, hey, leave your comments and questions below. It might be, hey, I'm running this new webinar on Wednesday, which I am incidentally, and I'll put the link in underneath here for you later, which steps you through the 5 stages of online marketing. So you see what I did there? You can register for it. That's a call to action. You might have a template or a checklist or an extension to the training that you can leave underneath and get people to opt in or do something at the end of that thing that you've been given them. Because here's the big thing, like without a call to action, all you're doing is creating this great rapport. You're explaining to people, your history and the results that your clients have had and all this kind of stuff. But then that kind of, if you don't give them a call to action, they're kind of like, okay, so can I actually work with this person? Or is there something like, where do we go from here? If you don't provide a call to action, what that can mean is that the next person who can solve, like your competition, the next person that can solve these problems for your client will come in with a call to action and say, hey, like, buy my stuff, I'm really awesome. And then next minute, all you've done is you've really warmed them up and you've set them up to go ahead and buy from the competition, right? Which kind of sucks because you're the best person to work with them. That's why they were listening to you in the first place. So, oh yay, I'm glad I kind of like chased that love heart across the screen. That was really funny. All right, so I can't see any questions going on in here, but I'm not quite sure. I know there's been a little bit, it's always a little bit funny on these little phones of mine. So my name is Nicola. obviously, if you have questions after this around how to apply this into your industry. So the kinds of people that I tend to work with, I think this is probably really important. You've already had clients. You have probably built a really solid reputation offline through networking, through doing in-person events, through all of that kind of stuff. And that's excellent. The big problem that you're having is you now know that you want to have an online presence, you want to grow your business, and maybe you don't quite know how to go about that and apply that into your industry. So think lawyers, health professionals, maybe you've got a training program that you're doing right now. I'm doing a live webinar on Wednesday. It'll go for a couple of hours, so make sure you block out some space. I'll put the link underneath in here for you to go ahead and register. If you would like to do that, there's only 100 spots available on there, so go ahead and register, and I will see you live and on that webinar. I do go into live Q&A on there too, so if you can't think of any questions just yet, get them ready and we can go through them for you on Wednesday. Now, I delivered those trainings live as well. Number one, I enjoy them. Number two, I think you guys get a much better experience from that. We're going through the 5 stages of online marketing and how to leverage your offline expertise online. All right, so without any further ado, my name's Nicola. Have a really amazing Monday or Sunday if you are in the US today. I look forward to seeing you next week. Now, we are going to go live next Monday, same time, same place, same station, same backwater. And next week, we are going through where to start with online marketing when you already have an established practice. Okay, so we'll go through, we'll go live for probably about half an hour, and I'll step you through all of that so that we can really get your online marketing rocking and rolling, and most importantly, generating a return on investment for the time, money, effort, and energy that you put into your stuff. All right, have a really amazing Monday. I'm gonna go and hang out with the one-on-one client now. Yay! For the rest of the week, she's playing at my house. So have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah! See you, love you, bye.